Philip Bliss was born into very humble beginnings. He was born July 9, 1838, in a log cabin in Clearfield County, Pennsylvania, to parents who taught him to love the Lord and to love music. Philip Bliss was uneducated for the first 10 years of his life. He grew up with a Bible as his only textbook and his mother as his only teacher. From a very young age, Philip was drawn to Jesus and music. His parents sang and taught him what they could. At age 11, he left home to make a living for himself as a logger. He spent the next 5 years in lumber camps and sawmills and walked with Jesus throughout this rough environment. Between these jobs, he would attend school and study music. He was also active in ministry throughout Methodist revival services. At age 17, he took the final steps to attain his credentials, and he became the schoolmaster at Hartsville, New York. With the encouragement of friends and mentors, he became a music teacher in Rome, Pennsylvania. A few years later, he was married to Lucy, the love of his life, and struck out as an itinerant music teacher from town to town. This changed when his wife's grandmother gave him money to attend a formal music academy in New York. In 1864, at age 26, they moved to Chicago, and he became widely known as a teacher, a singer, and composer. For the next 8 years, he was very well known nationally and financially successful. Life was going very well for him. Throughout this time, he developed a friendship with a great evangelist preacher, D.L. Moody, and his associate, Daniel Whittle. They challenged him to leave his business and work with them. After a number of years, Bliss decided to join Whittle at an evangelistic meeting. He sang one of his songs, and numerous people felt the conviction of sin and surrendered their lives to Jesus. Despite his success financially, as well as an educator and songwriter, in humility, he walked away from his business and began full-time work as an evangelist alongside Whittle and Moody. He traveled with them for the next 2 years, seeing many lives transformed for Jesus. In 1876, Bliss conducted a service with 800 inmates of a Michigan prison. He sang "Man of Sorrows," one of his last hymns. As he sang this beautiful expression of Christ's humility and sacrifice, many of the prisoners openly wept and gave their lives to Jesus. No one could have known this would be his last public performance. After celebrating Christmas with his family in Pennsylvania, Bliss boarded a train to Chicago to sing at a New Year's service for Moody. It was snowing heavily when he came to that bridge in Ohio. After the bridge collapsed, the train fell and burst into flames. Bliss initially survived by being thrown from the train, but with his wife on board, Bliss, like Jesus, became obedient even to death to save his wife. He rushed back into the burning train, and both he and Lucy were consumed in the fire, and their bodies were never recovered. Found in his trunk, which somehow survived the crash and fire, was a manuscript bearing the lyrics of his last song, "I Will Sing of My Redeemer." Philip Bliss, both in life and death, was a humble man who consistently considered others before himself. D.L. Moody said this of his friend, "In my estimate, he was the most highly honored of God of any man of his time as a writer and singer of gospel songs, and with all his gifts, he was the most humble man I ever knew. I loved him as a brother."